I was heading home later than usual. Another long day at the office. Meetings, dumb bureaucracy, and coffee that always somehow smelled like burnt toast. On the way back, I took my usual shortcut through the park trail. October was knocking, leaves crunching under my sneakers, cool air brushing against my ears. In one hand, a plastic bag with a frozen pizza and a can of Dr. Pepper. In my head, the hope that I might finally get a decent night's sleep. I was almost home when I heard it. A scream. Sharp, desperate, like someone was getting the soul ripped out of them. Not human, but disturbingly familiar. I froze. It came again. Louder this time. Piercing. Ragged. Somewhere to my left, behind the bushes near the concrete fence. Now, I'm not the jumpy type, but I'm not crazy either. Still, there was something about that sound that wouldn't let me walk away. Instinct, maybe. Or something deeper. I stepped into the dark, climbed over a low metal fence, pushed aside some wet branches, and stopped. In a muddy puddle surrounded by torn grass and old plastic bottles lay a raven. Big, shiny, like it was carved out of black glass. One wing stretched out at a weird angle. Beneath it, a small smear of blood. He looked at me, and man, I'll never forget that look. There was no fear in it, no anger, no begging, just understanding. Like he already knew I was there to help. I live in Richmond, Virginia. 2-bedroom apartment in an old-ass building. Feels like an oven in summer, a freezer in winter. But that night, standing in my kitchen for the first time, it felt like someone or something else was there too. I gently moved the raven into a cardboard box, laid down an old towel, and found a frozen slab of beef in the freezer. I sliced it up real thin and offered it to him. Took him a minute, but he started pecking at it, hesitant at first, then with more confidence. I named him Marlowe. No idea why. Just popped into my head, maybe from Chandler's Detective, maybe the playwright. Either way, it fit. All night I heard him, soft, raspy little sounds. He wasn't crying out, wasn't calling me, just letting me know he was still there. I barely slept. Next morning, first thing, I took him to a vet. Dr. Vance. Older guy, thick eyebrows, the kind of guy who genuinely respects birds. He checked Marlowe over and confirmed it. Broken wing. "Lucky you found him," he said, wrapping a tiny splint. "Most of them just die." Quietly. "I couldn't just leave him," I shrugged. "Most people could," Vance replied with a grunt. That's how it started. Our weird little story. 2 months. 2 months of changing bandages, feeding him meat and nuts, reading everything I could about corvids like I had a final exam coming up. And he changed. At first, Marlowe just sat there, quiet. Then he started mimicking sounds. The ticking clock, the door slamming shut, the beep of the coffee maker. He watched TV. No joke, actually watched. Sometimes he'd caw at the perfect moment, like he was reacting to the plot. He became part of my life. Black, shiny, with the vibe of an old-school cop, stubborn, but respectful. Then one day, I got home from work and the box was empty. The kitchen window slightly open. Marlowe was gone. It hit like a punch to the chest. You pour your time, your care, your hope into something, and it disappears. I sat there all evening in the kitchen, staring at the empty window. It felt like someone had walked out of the room and taken all the warmth with them. But then, a low caw. I looked up. Outside on the windowsill, Marlowe, ruffled, smug, and holding something in his beak. I opened the window. He flew in, perched on top of the fridge, and dropped a shiny coin in front of me. That's when it all began. Every day, he came back. Almost the same time, around 6 p.m. And every time he brought something. A button, a key, a bracelet, a hairpin, even a cufflink with the initials EG, all shiny. All weirdly personal. Like he knew they meant something to someone. I started keeping them in a box. Then I started filming, telling the story, and people went nuts for it. The comments poured in. "Is this real? Dude, chills. Bro, you're living in a Disney movie." Ornithologists, psychologists, college biology kids, everyone wanted to talk. About Marlowe. About how a bird could show gratitude. About how a raven's brain is freakishly close to ours. About memory. Empathy. I just kept posting videos. My raven brought me a ring. Marlowe found an earring. Guess where? I can't explain where he got this mirror from. But deep down I knew this was just the beginning. Marlowe was searching for something. And everything he brought me, it was part of something bigger. Like he was trying to tell me something, or show me. And then one day, he brought me something that changed everything. But that's another chapter. Ever since Marlowe came back to my windowsill, everything just clicked into place. I'd get home from work. He'd already be there, calling like, "Yo, what took you so long? Let's see what I got for you." I'd toss him some peanuts, maybe a piece of smoked chicken, and he'd accept it like a true connoisseur of human snacks. But one day, everything changed. It was a Tuesday. I got home later than usual, last-minute meeting, then stuck in traffic. Around 8, I finally parked, climbed up the creaky stairs, and heard the soft thump of wings outside my window. Marlowe was perched on the AC unit, holding something flat in his beak. I opened the window, and he flew in silently, none of his usual happy tee-yaw, and dropped it on the kitchen table. A photo. Old, faded, black and white. It showed a young woman. Messy hair, denim jacket, eyes that felt like they were staring straight through you. On the back, in scribbled ink, Sarah, July 93. Before camp, I just stared at it. A chill ran right down my spine. Marlowe sat calmly on top of the fridge watching me, and for the first time since all this started, I felt something was off. "Where'd you get this?" I whispered, looking at him. He didn't answer, obviously, but I swear he understood. Tilted his head, chirped softly, then looked out the window. Toward the tree line behind my building. I didn't sleep that night. That photo, it wouldn't let me rest. Something about it felt too real. Like it wasn't just a lost item he happened to dig up. Like it was meant to end up in my hands. I started digging, Googling, and I found something. In 1993, a girl named Sarah Westbrook went missing, 20 miles outside Richmond. Last known photo, taken right before she left for summer camp. And, yep, she was wearing a denim jacket. Caption on the police file, July 93. Before camp. I dropped my phone. The next few days, Marlowe kept bringing gifts, but they'd changed. No more shiny trinkets or random keys. Now it was stuff with a story. A cracked employee badge from some old convenience store, yellowed with age. Half of a friendship bracelet, woven from faded rainbow threads. A locker key from a supermarket that shut down a decade ago. And every time, he'd look at me like he was waiting, like he expected me to get it. I kept posting videos, but they weren't lighthearted anymore. No jokes. Just me, showing the objects and saying, "This is what the Raven brought today." People noticed. The comments got intense. "That's the same keychain my aunt had. She went missing in 2004. Oh my God, I had that same hair clip. They sold them at Woolworths in the 90s. This isn't a prank, right? My sister Sarah wore a bracelet just like that before she disappeared." I froze. The name, Sarah. Again, I opened the box and counted everything Marlowe had brought. 16 items. At least 5 looked like they belonged to people who were now listed as missing. I went to the cops. "You're telling me a bird is bringing you evidence from old cases?" the officer asked, raising an eyebrow. "I'm just showing you what I've got," I said. "It's all at my place. You can see it yourself." She nodded, clearly skeptical, and took my number. No one called. So I posted another video, explained everything, and added, "If you recognize any of this, message me." That's when things got really weird. Some guy DM'd me, looked older, based on his profile pic. "You don't understand where your Raven is finding this stuff. I used to work local law enforcement. We closed Sarah's case, but we never found the remains. Same for at least 4 other disappearances in that area. Everything your bird's bringing you, it's all connected. I think he found where they were." I read that message 10 times, then looked over at Marlowe. He was perched at the window, and he was looking at me. Not at the wall, not off into space, at me. Like he was saying, "You want to know? Come on." I didn't sleep that night either. I laid the photo of Sarah on the table, next to it. The keychain, the badge, the locker key, the bracelet. I packed everything into a backpack. And the next morning, right on time, I heard his call again. Marlowe was there, beak full. This time, it was a battered compass. The needle spun like crazy until he set it down, and it stopped, pointing. I looked at him. "You want me to follow you, don't you?" he cawed. Once, then took off. I grabbed my jacket and followed him, and somewhere deep inside, I already knew. There was no turning back. I was following Marlowe on autopilot. The city fell away fast. Industrial blocks, an old gas station, a wooden bridge flaking paint like it hadn't seen a brush in years. Then came the trees. That forest I always avoided. Locals called it Old Pines. No one walked their dogs there. No kids built tree forts or rode their bikes around. There was just something off about the place. Even the rumors felt heavy. Marlowe soared ahead over the clearing like he had GPS hardwired into his wings. I pushed through brittle shrubs and dry leaves, grabbing at my sneakers. The sun was starting to dip low. It was quiet, too quiet, even for a forest. No birds, no bugs, just wind, my breathing, and that black speck in the sky, my raven. About 30 minutes in, Marlowe suddenly dove down and landed on a thick root next to a fallen tree. I caught up and saw the hole. Couldn't tell if it was old or fresh, just there. Marlowe tilted his head and stared down. I stepped closer, something pale at the bottom. Plastic? I grabbed my flashlight, leaned in, and aimed the beam. A box. Busted up, sun-bleached plastic. The faded label said Camp Hollow Pines. The camp. Sarah's camp. I crouched and opened the lid. The smell hit me first. Mold and damp paper. Inside, letters, kid handwriting, photos, a torn-up map, some kind of camper roster, and again Sarah's name. And another. Jennifer Gray, vanished in 97. Amber Hall, 2001. Leslie Rogers, 1905. I dropped one of the pages. The writing looked like it came from a scared 12-year-old. Mom, Dad, something's weird here. Lisa said she saw someone outside the window last night. The counselors say we're not allowed to talk about it. I'm scared. If this letter makes it, just know I love you. I sat there, in the middle of that dead forest, and it felt like the ground beneath me was holding its breath. Not literally, but the whole place buzzed with this memory, like it remembered, and it didn't want to let go. Marlowe let out a soft croak. "What are you showing me?" I whispered. He lifted off again, circled once, and flew deeper into the woods. I followed. Another 15 minutes and I saw them. Buildings. Abandoned. Weather-beaten, but still standing. Cabins wrapped in ivy. A main hall with half a sign hanging off one nail. "Welcome to Camp Hollow Pines." And in the middle, a crooked, rusted lookout tower. There was a splintered sign by the gate. Someone had scratched into the wood with what looked like a nail. "Don't look in the windows." I froze. Marlowe perched on the old fence, just sat there, waiting. I stepped through. No sound. Just my own footsteps and breath. Inside it smelled like rot and broken promises and something human. I walked the main path, cobwebs, scattered toys, a stuffed fox face down in the dirt. It felt like they all left in a rush, like someone yelled, "Run," and they did. Inside one of the cabins I found a journal. Kids' names, chore charts, behavior points, and a list, names crossed out in thick black marker. Sarah, Jennifer, Leslie, Amber, all gone. Then, a noise. I spun around. Nothing. Marlowe made a low, short caw, quiet, like he didn't want something to hear him. And that's when I knew. I wasn't alone. Something or someone was here. And it didn't want me finding the truth. I decided to leave. Not bolt, just go. I had proof. Objects, notes, video. I'd be back, but not alone. I turned and saw her. A girl, wearing a denim jacket, standing just inside the doorway of the old rec hall. Her face was shadowed. "Sarah?" She didn't speak, just looked at me. Then vanished. Like mist. Marlowe flew up, silent, and started heading back. I ran after him. Didn't stop until I saw streets again. Houses. My car. Only then did I actually breathe. At home, I laid everything out on the floor. Photos, keys, the letter, the box, names crossed out. It all connected now. Marlowe sat on top of the cabinet, quiet. I looked at him. "You knew," I said. "You knew where you were taking me." He croaked, just once. Soft. And that's when I understood. Marlowe wasn't just a bird. He was a witness. And now, my guide. From that moment on, we had a mission. To find the ones who were never found. To give them their voices back and to tell the world that forest remembers. 2 days after my trip to the camp, I posted the video. No cuts, no music. Just me, the camera, the stuff we found, and a voice that shook a little. There was more truth in that clip than in anything I'd ever uploaded before. I showed the pit with the old box from Hollow Pines, the little girl's note, the list of names crossed out, the photo of Sarah, the bracelet I found where she'd been standing. And under the video, I wrote one thing. If you recognize any of these names, message me. I don't want clout. I just want to understand what happened. I think me and the crow found something no one was ever supposed to find. The next day, my phone practically caught fire. Comment after comment. "That's Leslie. She was my cousin. Her case was never solved. I went to that camp. Weird stuff happened. Kids disappeared overnight. They told us their parents picked them up. I still have the Hollow Pines camp map. There was a storage shed we weren't allowed near." And then it got dark. A woman reached out to me. Rachel Douglas, journalist, podcaster, true crime stuff. At first she was polite, then not so much. You're playing with fire. That camp was on a federal watch list back in the 90s. Officially it shut down for money reasons. Unofficially, 11 kids vanished over 8 years. And no one ever paid for it. Not a single counselor, not a single owner. How is that even possible? I asked her on a call. Because it was covered up, because those kids were orphans, from foster homes, poor families, no one who could fight back. I went silent. In the background I could hear Marlo rustling softly on the windowsill. Rachel wanted to meet. She wanted us to go back together. She wanted to shoot a documentary. I hesitated. But I said yes. The second time back at Hollow Pines felt different. Not scary, just off. Like the place remembered us. Like it whispered, "You came back?" Rachel filmed everything. The cabin where I found the journal. The lookout tower. The broken sign that read, "Don't look in the windows." I didn't tell her about seeing Sarah. Not yet. Then something happened. When we got near the old dining hall, Marlo started freaking out, circling in the air, cawing like crazy. Then, he darted off toward another building, the old storage shed. I followed. In the corner, under a mess of broken furniture and tile, Marlo landed, then looked at me, like before. Rachel came over, threw on gloves, and started digging. That's when we found the hatch, metal, hidden. "Oh my God," she breathed, "there's a basement?" I pried it open. The smell hit first, old, damp, rotten air. We climbed down. The space was narrow, long. Along the walls, shelves full of boxes, clothes, letters, toys. On one wall a schedule, written in chalk, right on the old tile. Camp rosters. 5 names for each week. Some names had X's next to them, some had circles. At the top, the ones who stayed. Rachel filmed everything. This is evidence. It's all here. Names, belongings, these families might finally get closure. Her voice cracked. I could hear it, but I was stuck on something else. One of the boxes looked newer. Not new, but recently touched. I pulled it down. Inside, photos. Marlo, my house, me. Still frames from my videos. All the shots were from outside, through windows, from behind. I froze. Rachel looked over. "What is that?" "Someone knows," I whispered. "Someone's watching." Marlo cawed, not scared, angry. When we got back, we turned everything over to the local authorities. The press picked it up, the story blew up, and then it died. Articles disappeared, videos got flagged. Rachel's account was suspended. Mine got swarmed with fake reports. Within days, it all vanished from the internet. But I knew one thing for sure, they saw it, and they're scared. Because me and Marlo, we're not just some guy and a bird anymore. We're witnesses, and now we carry the truth. The next morning, there wasn't just one crow at my window. There were 4, all staring at me. One of them held something in its beak, a small worn pendant. Etched on it, "Leslie, take me with you." That's when I understood. Marlo's not alone, and we're just getting started. 4 days had passed since I found that basement archive. 4 days since multiple crows started showing up at my window every morning. They didn't caw. They didn't act aggressive. They just stared, like they were saying, "You see us now, and we see you." I sat in silence, eyes locked on the box of children's things. The pendant with the name Leslie caught the light. Marlo perched on the fridge, occasionally hopping over to my shoulder. He was different now. Calmer. Focused. Like he knew we were walking the edge of something bigger than both of us. On the 5th day, I got a letter. Not an email, not a DM. A physical letter. Handwritten, yellow envelope. Simple message. "Been quiet for 20 years, that's enough. Come, no cameras, no press, just you." Address Waco, Texas. Signed, Nick Morris, 1996, Session 3. I checked the Hollow Pines rosters. He was real. His name showed up in the second-to-last group before the camp was officially shut down. So I drove. Texas met me with brutal sun and long, empty roads, the kind that make you get lost in your own head. Nick's house sat out by itself, single story, faded porch. He was already waiting. Tall, wiry, wearing a beanie in the heat, his face looked like it belonged in an old newsreel, older than his age. Eyes hollow in a way that only survivors carry. We talked for almost 3 hours. I didn't record, but I'll never forget what he said. There were 5 of us. I got placed in cabin 3. Jennifer, Sarah, Leslie, same cabin. The counselors weren't normal. They watched us, whispered at night, said creepy stuff. Second week, Leslie vanished. They told us her mom showed up, nobody bought it. Sarah started keeping a journal, wrote down everything. She thought there were tunnels under the camp, said she saw lights underground, heard voices. Different language. Then she disappeared too. I tried to speak up. Next thing I knew, they drugged me. Knocked me out. I woke up in an office. A doctor told me I imagined it all, said no one was missing, that I'd be going home. I survived because I pretended to forget, but I never did. Not for a day. Their names are burned in me. I asked him, why now? He looked past me, out the window. Marlo was sitting on the railing. Silent. Because the birds are back, he said. Just like before, when kids went missing, the crows changed. Now they're back, and one of them is with you. I didn't say anything. You think the camp's still running? I asked. He leaned in. I think it never shut down. It just changed form. Then he handed me a journal, worn red cover, Sarah's diary. Finish it, he said. Not for me, for them. Who? The ones who never got out. Chapter 6. Back to Hollow Pines. With Sarah's diary in my backpack and Marlo on my shoulder, I went back. Alone. No film crew, no journalist, no backup. Because Nick's words weren't like the ones I'd heard online. He lived with that pain. And now, I was starting to feel it too. I stood at the camp gates. Everything was more overgrown. Some buildings had collapsed, but the basement was still there. I opened the hatch, climbed down, and started reading Sarah's diary, out loud. Today, they took Amber, said she was sick, but I saw them take her downstairs. They call it the transition room. There's noise, light, someone's praying, someone's laughing. I kept reading, and the room started to feel alive. Like the walls were listening. Like the forest was holding its breath. Marlo cawed, once loud, then again, low and angry. Dust fell from the ceiling. I looked up and saw a gap that hadn't been there before. A tunnel, stone-lined, unmarked, not on any map. At the end, a metal door. One word etched into the plaque, the remaining. I pushed it open. The room was empty, except for the floor, covered in photos, notes, IDs, letters, personal stuff. And in the center, a nest, not twigs, metal, jewelry, buttons, lanyards. Camp tags like someone had been collecting memories for years. Inside the nest, a single crow with one white feather on its wing. It looked straight at me, then flew, up and out, through a crack in the ceiling. I climbed out after it, back into the open air, and looked up. Crows, dozens of them, flying above. Then, they started dropping things to the ground. Necklaces, hair clips, ID tags, handwritten notes. They were bringing it all back. Memories, truth, evidence. My channel? It's not just about a clever bird anymore. It's a place where people post photos of their missing sisters, their brothers, their friends. Marlo still shows up, still perches on my window. Sometimes, he's not alone. Every day, I open that box, add something new, something returned. And I know now this forest, this camp, these birds, they remember. And now, so do I.